Hello everyone and welcome to another TGN World of Warcraft guide with your host Rurikon. So today we're going to be healing through heroic Stonecore, and I'm going to be giving you a few tips for each of the bosses that you might take or not. So as you can see, I'm in a completely random pug. Our tank is going to be that druid bear tank who thinks he's awesome at AoE and is at the moment completely failing at it because the whole party is taking damage, starting with that Paladin who just now even ran away from the pack because the tank wasn't keeping aggro off him, and ending up with that mage who is also taking aggro from some kind of a melee ad and is being completely unhealable unless I would spam Flash of Light, which would completely wreck my mana. So the rotation you want to go for when you're in a Holy Paladin is basically you want to prioritize Holy Shock whenever possible, because Holy Shock is an instant cast spell that generates Holy Power, and whenever you have 3 charges of Holy Power, you basically want to go for either your Word of Glory or your Light of Dawn. Why do you want to go for these spells? Well, Light of Dawn will use up your Holy Power to make an AoE frontal conal heal. While your Word of Glory will basically make a single target heal, but both of them are instant and use up Holy Power instead of mana. So whenever you get 3 charges of Holy Power, you might want to consider spending it on one of those. Now, your go-to spell, which is basically the spell that you're spamming all the time, is Holy Light. Also, don't be a noob like me and keep up Crusader Aura, which is really kind of retarded. I use Healbot to heal. I can give you tips on how to configure Healbot on a future video if you guys would like to. Basically, the setup I'm using right now is left click will give me Holy Light on my target, middle click will give me Holy Shock, right click will give me Divine Light, which is almost like the new Holy Light, because back in Wrath of the Lich King you used to have Flash of Light for most of your heals. Right now you actually have to use Holy Light, and even though it's a bit of a slower cast, it's actually one of your most effective heals because it doesn't spend all that much mana and gives a decent amount of healing, so it's what I spam all the time. Except that you should always prioritize Holy Shock. In fact, that's why you have an icon of Holy Shock right next to my healing bars. It's because I want to look at its cooldown, even though sometimes I fail because I'm focusing so much tunnel visioning on those bars that I kind of fail to use Holy Shock. Apart from Holy Shock, like I said, you want to be using your Word of Glory or your Light of Dawn whenever you reach to your 3 holy points. And there's also the judging. Now, a lot of paladins don't really keep track of their judging while they're healing, and that is just so important. You guys have no idea how important judgment is at the moment if you're not an experienced Holy Paladin. It's just way too important to even think about not having it. So obviously the seal that you're going to be using while you're healing is Seal of Insight, because it boosts your healing. And you want to judge whenever judgment is off cooldown, unless something really bad is happening to your party and you really got to focus up on just healing. You want to judge it whenever it's off cooldown. Now naturally this is going to require a great degree of awareness from you, because you want to make sure that you do not judge a sheeped target or any other kind of CC target, because it will break CC. And if that happens, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Now, back in Wrath of the Lich King, you could basically just spam your Judgment button and it wouldn't really matter because no CC would ever be there. But right now, you actually have to look at which mobs you're selecting to do your judging. Now, as you can see, I select Millhouse Manastorm there because we never actually get to kill Millhouse Manastorm in this instance, because as you know, he just keeps going along to new packs and new packs and new packs until we get to the boss. Now, as you can see there, the Paladin again taking aggro, and I'm just being forced to spam heals on him, like Divine Light, which is the big heal, the Flash of Light even, which is a pain in the ass. Flash of Light at the moment is actually your most inefficient heal, as in it will save you in just about any situation, but it's a heal that you really don't want to be casting, because whenever you start down the road of Flash of Light healing, it's going to end up either really badly, or you better pray to God that the mobs are about to die, because if you start on that road for Flash of Healing, which is basically quick flashes for high mana, for high heals, what's going to be happening is you're going to go in like no time. And I'm talking about like 10 casts and you're about done. So be really careful when you go down the road of Flash of Light. And there I'm giving the major pro tip, which is to move out of the blade storming mob, which is something he's not doing. Basically, some of these mobs will charge at you and start blade storming, and if you just stand there, I'm not going to be able to heal you even if I want to, because while I'm healing this instance, I'm also practicing. Like I've always said, I'm always practicing for raids. Every single thing I do on my Paladin as a healer is always practice for raids. So while I'm practicing for raids, what I'm basically trying to do is I'm trying to heal everyone up while keeping my mana, because that's still one of my biggest problems at the moment, is keeping my mana up. Because yeah, I can heal up everybody really fast by spamming my Holy Shock, Holy Light, and all of a sudden Flash of Light when things go wrong, and yeah, I can keep everybody up. The problem is that when I get to that Flash of Light phase, it's all over. It's downhill from there. Now, I personally also have a trinket that allows me to regenerate mana, which is the Core of Ripeness. You can buy that for Valor points. But that really isn't the only form of mana regen I have. I also have, obviously, the Paladin's Divine Plea. Now, let me just check up here with this boss. I don't know if you guys know this boss or not. I believe that I've commented it on my Paladin. But it was from a tanking standpoint. So now from a healer standpoint, what you want to be doing in this boss is basically healing everybody up, which should come with the territory, and there isn't really all that much to do as a healer in this boss. Basically, you got to top off the tank at all times, which isn't really all that hard. It's pretty accessible to be topping off the tank, assuming the tank doesn't do something ridiculous like sit down or something. In this particular debuff phase, what you want to be doing is dispel the tank, and don't worry about anyone else unless someone is about to die, because what this debuff does is it basically absorbs your healing. So you will actually heal, but nothing will happen on your targets. So as you could see there, I actually did pop Holy Radiance, but it was just a normal one because nobody was really taking all that much damage. It was just to keep everybody up. And during this phase, as obviously you must have already know, you don't want to be in the big patches of dirt, because if you are, you're going to die. It's that simple. In fact, I believe the Death Knight is going to die in here. Not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure he is. And boof! There you go. See ya! So that Death Knight stood in the big dirt patch, and that's what happens when you stand in the big dirt patch. The boss lunges at you and kills your ass. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's just the way things go. So these crystal shards aren't looking all that very friendly. They aren't getting solidly AoE down, which is being a pain in the ass. In the meantime, it appears that the tank was able to battle res the Death Knight, which is really good performance on his part, I have to say. Mr. Omenau. Okay, Omenau. Omenapua? Omenapua? I don't know. I can't really read his name. Let me actually just try to... Yeah, it's Omenapu. So, Mr. Omenapu, good job there. You actually managed to shift out of your tanking form while the boss was in the second phase and battle res the Death Knight, so that was very nice. So these shoulders drop. I don't actually need them because I have already epic raiding shoulders, so yeah, whatever. And now we're going to be going on to the next pack of mobs. As you can see, no real challenge healing there unless someone does something completely retarded like stand in the big dirt patch, which I have already told in one of my videos. Don't stand in the big dirt patch because you're gonna die. So in here, you might be watching me beating on a mob and you might be wondering, why the hell are you beating on the mob? Well, here's the thing about Paladins. When you get Seal of Insight, whenever you hit a mob, a melee swing, basically what's going to happen is you're going to regain 4% of your base mana. So yeah, that's pretty useful. I don't have to explain that to you. Now here we have a Paladin that couldn't jump on Quake and couldn't kill the Crystal Shards. So basically those two combined will get you killed. So these Crystal Shards need to die and you need to try and jump on Quake. If those two things don't happen, I mean, if those two things are allowed to happen at the same time, it's almost impossible to heal you, because the shard will blow up, make massive amounts of damage, and then the Quake will come, also make massive amounts of damage, and if you can't handle either of them, you're gonna die. You have to handle at least one of them. You have to either kill the shard or jump on Quake. Do something. In fact, optimally, if you were really, really good, you would do both. But yeah. So as you could see there, the DK standing in front of the mobs, taking those attacks that they make when they go all slappy, choppy, whatever the hell you want to call that attack that these guys make. The Stone Flayers, they make this special attack that they go like... And if you stand in front of that, you're going to get damn near killed, so you don't want to do that, which is what the Death Knight did, and it almost costed him his life. But I'm always trying to heal people up, even when they make mistakes, which I know that sometimes some people need to die to learn a thing or two, but I always try to keep people alive, because the bigger the challenge is, for me, the better, because the better I will perform in raids if I can overcome these small challenges in heroics, obviously. Now here we have the same mob. You should be trying to jump on Quake, which I did there, as you could see. Jumping on Quake and killing off the shards, which I believe the mage is not doing, so he gets a big blast to the face. But still, I can heal him through it. Oh, double! This was because he got a blast of the shards in the face, and I'm actually spamming Flash of Light now to keep him up, because like I said, I like a challenge, even though I don't really like people messing it up. I still like a challenge, and even though I don't like the Flash of Light, I still do it anyways. Now here the mage goes AFK for 2 seconds, and I say, dude, just put me on follow, because we could have kept on going, but instead we're like left in here looking at the time go by, and I'm like, oh, seriously? Come on. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that will keep telling you, go, 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 yeah, we gotta go faster, we gotta beat the timer, go, 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 but seriously, if you want to go AFK, you might as well put someone on follow, because, I mean, I just think it's a lot more respectable. So, at this point, the tank is asking if those are repentanced, and repentanceable, whatever, and I say yep, because I know they are. They're humanoid targets, I believe, so they count as repentance targets. And again, these Stone Flayers, you don't want to stand in front of them unless you are the tank, and big deal. So a little spell that I still haven't spoken about is the Beacon of Light, but I believe that most Holy Paladins should know about that. You always beacon the tank so that you can heal everybody else except the tank. I mean, you should still heal the tank, obviously, whenever he's taking more damage than normal, but the thing about Beacon of Light is that it will allow you that every single heal you make on someone else, it gives 80% of that heal back to the tank. So you can be healing someone else who is an idiot and is taking damage, and it's healing the tank at the same time. Now here we get these rock boars, and I believe that we get a lot more of them that we should have had, because the mage is still back there just sitting and not really moving because he's still AFK. Actually just sat back now, and we're slowly crawling back, and these rock bars just keep on coming, annoying as all hell. But still the tank keeps on charging on them and keeps aggro on them, and I'm just healing the tank through it. And eventually we even get to the part where the black rocks are falling, and we're still killing rock bars, which is kind of ridiculous and sad in a way, but yeah. So at this point we're going to be heading off to the next boss. What you want to do in this kind of little small gauntlet type thingy, even though it's not really a gauntlet because there's no mobs, there's just rocks falling. What you want to do is you want to avoid the black spots on the ground. Black spots on the ground equals bad, don't be on them, otherwise you will get a spike directly through your skull, and you won't die, but you will get thrown around like a little bitch. So yeah. Now for this boss, what you want to be doing is you got to make sure that you keep line of sight with your tank, because these falling rocks, they will actually break line of sight to your tank, which is a pain in the ass if you can't get line of sight on your tank. But basically just keep line of sight to the tank and try not to be directly in front of the boss, because the boss makes a breath attack, which is a pain in the ass. And just keep in mind that whenever you're trying to heal someone, if they are not in your line of sight, you won't be able to, because these rocks do take up line of sight. Now obviously this is going to get nerfed because it's apparently too hard even though I'm just looking at it and I'm like, really? This is too hard? This right here? The rocks, dealing with the rocks and line of sight issues, this is too hard? Come on. Come on, it's ridiculous. Now, on the other hand, I'm basically keeping everyone up without all that much effort. Other mechanics that this boss does is also the flaming puddle in the ground, which you can see. Basically, a dirt patch will come up on the ground, and shortly after it you will get a flame puddle. In fact, I should actually be using my resistance aura, which I kind of forgot. I was just using devotion aura to give the tank more armor. Now in here the mage is just about to die, but he managed to hide himself behind a pillar somewhere just before he died, which was actually pretty good for him. And now that I see that a lot of people are taking damage from random stuff that they shouldn't be taking damage, I go ahead and I pop my Holy Radiance with Divine Favor, which basically heals everybody up for about 2Ks per tick or something. And at the same time I'm popping Holy Shocks, Flash of Lights, all those kinds of panic heals on people. So yeah. This is a pretty easy boss in my opinion. I don't think I've ever really wiped on this boss unless the people that didn't really knew the Crystal Shards mechanic. And the Crystal Shards mechanic, I didn't really explain it to you, but it's pretty simple. When you see that the dragon is about to cast Crystal Shards, you have to get out of line of sight with the dragon. So you have to hide behind those pillars and check if you're not getting hit. If you are getting hit, run to another pillar, because there have been occasions where I've had people that were outside the line of sight of the dragon, and even still they got hit by the shards. Now when you're a tank here, I would actually like to give you guys a small little advice. On these mobs, when they start doing their fast attacks with the green animation, what you want to do is you can move away, because when they do that, they're actually static, they're not moving. So it really doesn't make much sense if you just stand there and take the beating. In fact, you can just go through the mobs and attack them from behind, and you don't take that damage. Now in here, I don't know exactly why the Death Knight decided to pull, but that was a really bad move. So I just yelled out, "Ninja!" And people are like, "What? Ninja what?" Because what I meant was ninja pull, but I only have time to type ninja before someone dies. So I go ahead and I say, "Ninja!" And the tank runs back and tries to pick up aggro, but obviously DPSers being the way they are, they will just be like, "Oh yeah, tons of mobs, time for AoE!" And they start AoE damaging and taking aggro all over the place. And guess who gets the short end of the stick? The tank and the healer, because the tank is going to be running back and forth, taking up mobs from this DPS, then taking up mobs from that DPS, and the healer is going to be going back and forth, healing DPSers, tank, DPSers, AoE heals, all that kinds of stuff. So yeah, ninja pulling is a pain in the ass for just about anyone. Now, in these packs, what you want to be really careful about are the sentries. In fact, if you're a ranged DPS and you see a sentry that you know that you can snipe it off immediately. And now the mage is trying to Now the mage is trying to ask me exactly why did I pop wings, and I'm replying because I popped Divine Plea. Now, in case you guys don't know, when you pop Divine Plea, what happens is you're going to get a certain percentage of your mana back. I believe it's 50% or 25. No, I think it's 25% of your mana back, but your healing is going to be reduced by 50%. So why did I pop wings? Well, basically when you pop wings you get 20% increased damage and healing. So what you do is, I'm popping Divine Plea to get my mana back, but at the same time I pop wings so that my healing doesn't receive such a big penalty. Now, like I said, about the sentries, you really gotta be careful about these sentries in here, because those sentries will actually alert other packs, and if they alert other packs, the other packs will aggro onto your group, which is a pain in the ass. So in here I switched back to my resistance aura. Why? Because there's a lot of fire damage going around, as you can plainly see. And so since there's more fire damage and shadow damage, those are more dangerous to the tank than necessarily the physical hits. So in this case I switch over to resistance aura. This is something very important for every paladins. You have to know how to make use proper use of your auras and talents and all that kinds of stuff, because once you make proper use of all your utilities, it becomes a lot easier for the party to move on. Like for instance, and here I'm using the resistance aura for this mob. In fact, that's coming because we're going to be killing the big one. I should be using devotion aura. I don't remember if I switched it or not, but the whole idea is that you switch your auras depending on what you're fighting against. Like for this particular mob, the best aura is Devotion. Why? Because every single attack he makes is a physical attack. So if it's a physical attack, it can be mitigated by armor. So yeah, Devotion aura would be the best, but I had just previously switched to Resistance aura and I probably forgot to switch back. It's something I still need to improve because, like I said, I've only been playing Holy Paladin for about a month. So there's still a lot of room for improvement, but trust me, on these mobs, these particular mobs, use your Devotion aura because it will mitigate a lot more damage than your Resistance aura. And on the next pack, you switch back to your Resistance aura because you have again the flame elementals that make a ton of fire damage. And most tanks will always, most of the time, be able to mitigate physical damage just fine, but spell damage and stuff like that, I believe that only the Death Knights really excel at, unless you have a Protection Paladin that's glyphed for Divine Protection. In that case, yeah, you can get a pretty decent magical damage absorption from a Paladin as well. So as you could see, he also did something there that I don't really approve, which is he went through the pack and then he charged the sentry, and yeah, like I said, you gotta kill those sentries off immediately so that they don't aggro additional packs onto you, but do not do it at the cost of turning your back on the mobs, because as you could most likely see, he almost got nuked down in a matter of seconds because his back was on the mob. And as you know, if you are a tank and you turn your back to a mob, what's going to be happening is the mobs are just going to say, oh, you're on your back? Okay, just bend over slightly forward because I got a little present for you. What happens when the mobs attack you from the back is they basically skip your dodge, your parry, even though bears don't have parry, but they still have dodge. They skip your block, they skip just about every single avoidance that you can get as a tank. So you really don't want to get hit in your ass. So that's just a little reminder there for you tanking guys. So now he's going to be pulling another Stonecore Bruiser, and again, I should be switching to Devotion Aura. I noticed that I'm not. That's because I immediately begin my healing rotation. It's just that since I haven't really played Paladin as a main, I'm not really used to switching auras around, but it's really important because this kind of utility can sometimes mean the difference between a kill and not a kill. So yeah, you gotta keep your heads up for that. Now, up ahead we have a boss that's called Orzuk, and a lot of people find this boss extremely difficult, even though I have to say it's not really that difficult. It's all about tanking movement and DPSers knowing how to avoid getting paralyzed. I'm going to be giving you a few details on that pretty soon. Excuse me for a while though. Like I said, it's kind of cold here in Portugal, and when it gets cold I get the sniffles, so yeah. So the reason why we're killing this pack on the right, this isn't exactly 100% required, but what happens a lot of the times when you engage this boss is that for some reason this pack aggroes. And it's a good thing to know that this tank at least is aware of that, so he goes ahead and he tanks it off immediately so that it doesn't become a problem while we're killing the boss. Which is much better to deal with it now in a controlled fashion than to having to deal with it when you're attacking the boss. Now, I've actually successfully, I believe once, and on my Paladin, I'm not sure if it was on my Paladin or on my Warrior, that we've engaged the boss, this pack aggroed, and I was able to tank the pack and the boss. But my healer was probably shouting curses at me for about, I don't know, 2 hours after we had done, like, you fucking son of a... No, he wasn't, but yeah, you get the picture. It's really, really stressful for the healer. So this boss, what does he do? He makes something called a ground slam. And what does ground slam do? Ground slam will basically make a frontal, massive AoE damage in the cone in front of him. And it has almost infinite range. It has a really huge range. So if the tank happens to turn the boss onto us, will most likely just die. Besides the ground slam, he also does shatter. Shatter is a massive AoE thingy that will knock you back and make tons and tons and tons of damage. So that you also want to avoid and run away from. And he has that thing called Elementium Bulwark. So what does Elementium Bulwark do? Elementium Bulwark will reflect spells back onto you. And why would you keep casting if Elementium Bulwark is up? Well, you're going to keep casting because you want to have some form of a dot on top of you. And why do you want that? Because if you get some kind of damage back onto you, you will immediately get out of Paralyze. Now in here, I actually didn't get any damage on myself from the Reflect, from the Elementium Bulwark, which means that I didn't get out of the Paralyze immediately. What I usually do is, and I've noticed that this doesn't work 100%, is once I've seen that he casts Elementium Bulwark, I will use Judgment, and then I will Holy Shock him. Warlocks can use dots. Most other classes can use some form of dot to reflect it onto themselves to get out of Paralyze. Melee classes will have Bleed from the boss because the boss makes a bleeding effect on whoever is beating up on him. And yeah, that's basically it. You will, and if you're a melee class, whenever the boss does Paralyze, that's the time you have to move out to avoid getting hit by the Shatter. Now, in here I was actually thinking, I might actually use this for some, what's it called? For some Shokadin PvP or something like that. So I pressed need on it because I thought everyone had pressed disenchant. But then I noticed the mage was going to be needing on it. And he was like, oh my god, no, drama, no, oh my god, Paladin steals my trinket, no. But I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude, you want the freaking trinket? Just trade me. I mean, seriously, I didn't give a fuck. I just wanted it to make some Shokadin crazy stuff. I don't really care. I like to do a lot of experimentations with specs and stuff like that, so I like to have some gear as a backup for that. So, again, everybody's like completely pissed off at me. Oh, but that's so awful, and oh my god. But, seriously, I just like experimenting with stuff, so if people didn't need it, why shouldn't I take it? Seriously, who gives a crap? But, like I said, just trade me for it, I will give it to you, I don't really care that much. And now we're going to be moving on to the last boss, the tank leaving one add-on to me, which was really kind of him. I'm just going to take it straight to him, and maybe he will enjoy it. And here I don't really remember if the tank pulled all of them at once or not. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. So again, I'm telling the mage, trade me, I'll give you the freaking trinket, just leave me the hell alone, because I'm tired of hearing all your whining. And now I'm getting criticized for thinking about a Shokadin build. Oh my god! What do you mean a Shokadin build? Innovation? Hell no! You have to play your set roles, Holy Retribution or Prot. No Shokadin stuff. No, 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 no. I'm just like, oh my god. Certain people are just so limited. You have to expand your horizons. There's so much fun builds that you can do in WoW and not just stick to the beaten path. So yeah. Now for this boss over here, what you gotta do is you gotta try and keep interrupting Force Grip whenever possible. I mean, we have 2 melees, so the Paladin should have Rebuke. The Death Knight has Mind Freeze, so I'm really not all that worried about Force Grip. And what you want to do is you want to try and form up a wall with these wells. These wells will spawn on random people. But you always want to try and form some kind of a wall with them. We've actually did pretty good here with that. And the reason for that is because you will want to try and kite the adds onto these wells because they will die. They will basically just wither up and die when they go inside these wells. Sometimes they won't die as effectively as they should, but then again they can still be tanked. Whenever the boss goes away from the tank, it means that she's going to be throwing boulders at your party. So what you want to do is you want to make sure to get off the dirt patches that are going to be showing up on the floor. And those dirt patches aren't exactly precise as of yet, but Blizzard's going to be implementing that on the next patch. So what that means is be further away than you think it's going to hit, because it will help you a lot in staying alive. So yeah. Again, these adds not being exactly properly kited, but then again we have such massive DPS that doesn't really make that much difference. I'm basically, as I'm picking up the ads, I'm trying to kite them inside these blue circles, because like I said, these blue circles basically kill the ads. And apart from that, the only real thing you got to worry about is have your melee interrupting stuff. And in here I'm actually helping out the mage, who can't seem to kill that small ad that was on him because he was too focused on killing the boss. These circles are really annoying though when you're trying to move to your party, because they will yank you in the middle of the circle and actually damage you. But still, we did it. I'm going to be taking that Elementium Fang for tanking, for my tanking spec. And yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave me some feedback, and I realize that my healing guides might not be as exciting as my tanking guides usually are, but you have to keep in mind that I also don't have as much practice making healing guides, so any feedback that you could leave would be highly appreciated. And as usual, press the like or dislike button whether you like my content or not, so that we all know what's going down, if you guys are enjoying the stuff or not. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one right here on TGN World of Warcraft.